Hi, everybody. My name is Jennifer Mulholland. This is Jeff Shuck. We are the co-leaders of Plenty, calling in from Park City, Utah and Michigan City, Indiana in our home offices. We wanted to share some thoughts with you about community. And this morning, after getting out of the shower, I had this phrase that came to me about community builds immunity. And we wanted to talk to you today and share about that idea that we are a communal species. We are literally designed to connect, to create, to cohabitate, and to collaborate. It's in our blood and it's in our DNA. So over the next few minutes, we want to just share our perspective on that and how it's really rising for us at this time of change.
Jen used that phrase. I was like, that is brilliant. And I paused because we're actually living through a time where we're being told not to be in community, that actually the way to protect ourselves and our health is to stay distant from one another. And so it's really an interesting experiment we're all living through. And in some ways it's tragic and it's stressful, but it's also already helping us see how important contact is, how important it is to be with one another, how important it is to not be alone, and how easy it is to feel alone. So I was just, we wanted to riff on these ideas a little bit. One thing to start with is what Jen was just saying, that we are made to be together. You know, we're made to be with one another. That's how we're designed to operate. And studies have shown, and you probably have experienced personally, how being in relationship and having active relationships in your life makes you happier, makes you healthier, reduces depression, keeps you less anxious. So we feel it in our daily life, the importance of being in relationship with one another.
A great example of this is Bhutan, who created fascinating research around the power of community. And they literally changed their GDP, their measurement of health and wealth, if you will, for their country to become the GHI, the Gross Happiness Index. And one of their key measurements, what they found in studying their population, was how important community was to health and well-being. When we commune, when we get together, when we share what we care about, we literally increase our immune system. We boost our immunity. We create more health, not only for ourselves individually, but for our families, our loved ones, and who we are sharing time and space and connection with us. It's really difficult now to think of new creative ways that we can do that without physical contact, but it is absolutely possible. Those communities that we're creating, you'll hear Jeff and I talk a lot about, and it's why we've created Plenty of Corona Care, is that communities literally spawn, grow, empower, and can replicate with shared care. So what we care about matters. And when we share what we care about and it resonates with what other people care about, that's what unites us together. That's what creates this experience of connection and can combat anxiety, fear, depression, that feeling of being alone, that feeling of isolation, the feeling of no one gets what I'm going through.
We're going through an example of this at Plenty right now. Jen just mentioned it. If you don't know, she mentioned Corona Care. And less than a week ago, we set up a Facebook group, intending it to be for a few of our close clients and friends, that we called Plenty of Corona Care, with an idea of providing virtual support. In 3 or 4 days, it has over 2,000 people, and we're trafficking right now how we steward that group and how we let them grow with each other. But it's been a fascinating experiment for us about this idea of shared care. And so one of the things that we want to talk about is, you know, that idea of community is two parts, right? It's each of us bringing what we care about to the table, and it's being willing to sit with another and say, how does what I care about match with what you care about? That's the essence of peer-to-peer, which is something that we spend a lot of time working on professionally.
And in that case, we really mean person to person, passion to passion, as we create this common connection of shared interests, shared needs, shared ways to help. And so, right now, this idea of rallying the hope helpers, the people that are really interested in making this world a better place, is how we need to come together to kind of crowdsource, if you will, what that looks like in different places around the world, in different countries, in different communities. And we're seeing it in effect with this wave of how the coronavirus is spreading. In some states in the US, for example, are much further ahead than other states. And some countries are further ahead than other states. And so how we convene and come together, peer to peer, person to person, passion to passion, and orienting our focus in positivity, in helping each other. Because as we're birthing this new cycle, there are so many more opportunities that are going to inform how we work, how we collaborate, how we share, and how we convene.
So everyone is living through, and you probably know there are tools out there. We're using one right now that we can use to foster community when we can't get together. And there's kind of a theme going around the internet right now about talking about physical distancing, not social distancing, right? We actually want to be socially more intimate, but even if we have to be physically separate. And that idea gets us to one other thing we wanted to share, that the tools are great, but the tools aren't enough. If community is about shared care, it means it starts with you being willing to tell someone else what you care about. It means you being willing to be yourself and be authentic, you being willing to be vulnerable, you being willing to have your kids playing and screaming in the next room, which you probably just heard while you're trying to look all put together. You being willing to say, I'm scared, I'm stressed, I'm not sure what's happening. That part hasn't gone away, and that essence of community we have more than ever. So how do we show it to each other?
Yeah, and each one of us have different tribes, whether it's personal friends or coworkers or parts of groups that we're associated with. And so one thing that we're trying to practice, as Jeff was saying, is like, how do we use tools, whether it's Zoom or Skype or other online mediums or text threads, to ask for help, share humor, connect with one another, but most importantly, kind of dropping the need for any of that to look a certain way. I think it's uncomfortable to practice vulnerability. It's uncomfortable, I will tell you, for us to not look put together or to figure this out in real time. But it is the way that we're seeing the trusting nature of a community come together and fortify by that quality of authenticity, that quality of the people-pleasing behavior dropping, the quality of people getting an insight, acting on it, and bringing people together that may care about the same thing. So we really encourage you to experiment, to come together, to convene as a community. Community builds immunity. And as we're looking to prevent, to treat, to slow down, to flatten the curve of this virus spread, we all have that power within ourselves to reach out and help, to reach out and ask for help, and to use different tools to convene in whatever way that looks like to you. And we'd really love your ideas. What tools are working? How are you convening in a place and time where we're not able to physically be together?
Love all of that. And I love, so for our clients and friends and the conscious leaders out there and the nonprofit executives and the social impact businesses trying to make a difference, be yourself, communicate. And I love that Jen started with being willing to say how you can help. That's the first thing she said. And then she said, and being willing to ask for help. That comes second. So we start with the gift, right? And we give first and we share abundantly and we trust that it'll come back. And that's our ultimate advice right now for everybody trying to figure out how to keep community connected in a world where we have to be separate physically. see what you can give and see what happens from there.
Thanks so much for listening. More to come. We look forward to being connected online and in any way and through any tool that feels good. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Join us on Plenty of Corona Care on Facebook. And we're with you, and we know you're there for us as well. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Again.